I'm going to talk about the studies on the interactive humanoid. And actually, this is my imagination. This is the future society, what I want to create. That is a human-robot symbiotic societies. As you can see here, the robot is helping the human daily activities, and especially in Japan, where our population is going down to the half of a current population within 50 years. Therefore, we need to use the more robot in our societies. So in order to realize this, the robot societies, I have started my project in 2000, and I started with this simplified robot, and after that, I have developed the more human-like robot, interactive robot, and this is also the robot. And this is not myself; this is a copy of myself, right? Why do we need a humanoid robot? So there is a very strong reason. The human has a brain that recognizes humans. Okay, so therefore the ideal interface for human is humans, and therefore the information media devices such as talking rice cookers should be at least the partially human-like. Actually, in Japan, our home electronics. The speaking a lot, right? But of course, today's, you guys are using the Google Home and Amazon Echoes. Everybody using the voice interface. And conversely, to understand humans, very human-like robots are needed. So I really think so. So we call this approach in constructive science with intelligent systems. So past brain studies have found that the human intelligence comprises elements of memory, computations, inference, and learning, etc. The challenge is to identify how the elements can be put together for realizing the human intelligence. The constructive approach will reconstruct robots and androids to model the humans and use such robot and android to study the human macro-level functions or meta-level functions. If I simply say we developed the intelligent robot based on the knowledge of cognitive science and neuroscience, and then by using this robot, we study the human macro-level, meta-level functions. So far, we just focus on the mechanics and manipulators, sensors, image understanding technologies, and voice recognition technologies. But after this, our interest is to study about the meta level or cognitive level, macro level cognitive functions like intelligence, embodiment, multimodal integrations, and the intention, desires, and the consciousness, and the social relationships. Actually, we do not have a clear definition about the intelligence, but the people are quite interested in artificial intelligence, even if we don't know what intelligence is, right? And this is the roadmap for the robot development. Now we are here. We are developing the language teacher robots and the order taking robots at restaurants. This robot has single human-like functions, and then we are planning to improve more and more. That we're gonna put the more human-like functions, and we hope to reach to develop the companion robot, which has multiple human-like functions. And these are examples, and these are, kind of practical robots, and these robots are not popular yet, but actually we are selling these robots, and we are using this robot for the elderly cares, and while we are using the robot in restaurants, the problem is the cost and the reliabilities, right? If we can improve the robots more and more, right? I think in near futures we're gonna use the more robots. So this is the relationships between the science and the robots. Actually, and intelligence and embodiment and multimodal integrations, these are fundamentals. So once we implement the intention, desire to the robot, and probably the robot, we can feel the maybe consciousness through the interaction with the robot, and we may have the social relationships with the robot. And the final goal is to develop the robot which can pass the total Turing test. So this is our goal, and in my lab, we are developing, we are improving a robot in order to pass this total Turing test. And the total Turing test is to compare between a robot manipulated by human operators, right, and the autonomous robots controlled by the technologies. Okay, so we don't care so much about the exact appearance to the humans. Okay, even if the robot looks like toy on dolls. If we can easily anthropomorphize the robot, I think we can accept the robot through the interactions. So, and therefore, that we are defining our total Turing test like this. Is to compare the human operators or the artificial intelligence. Okay. I think this is one of the important challenges in in intelligent robotics, and this total Turing test evaluate the total human likeness through all modalities the robot has. Okay, and of course, it evaluates the social acceptance as a member of our society. So anyway, the important thing is to tightly couple the robot and cognitive science. Okay, and so I want to give you a couple of examples, what we are doing in our laboratories. The first, we have a couple of questions. Maybe here I'm focusing on the two questions. The first question is how do we recognize a robot? And actually, I have developed this teleoperated robot. This was my copy, and then I used this robot for having the meeting in a distant place. The most important finding was that actually if we use the very human-like robot like this, okay, with we recognize this very human-like robot based on the observations. Okay, but in this case, if a robot is not perfectly human-like, we may have the problem of uncanny values. Okay, so if a robot, the movement is quite jerky, this robot looks like a zombie. Then, I found another totally different approach about the interactive robots. That is the recognition based on the imaginations. So I have replaced the human-like appearance with this neutral appearance. So this is a kind of a minimal design of humans. So in this case, people could use their own imagination for the interactions. Okay, so this is this appearance. We cannot tell the age and genders. In this case, we need to use the imaginations. But this has a very positive effect for the the conversation. So these people, elderlies, they are not so good for talking with the people. They don't like to talk with the people, but they could have the conversation through by using this robot. We have tested the effect in many countries, of course, including the Italy. Okay, always we could have a good result. Okay, so this is one of the important studies in my laboratory. Okay, and probably this is closely related to the multimodal integrations. And maybe people may feeling there's some kind of a consciousness through the interactions. Okay, and then I want to show you one more important example, and how we can develop the autonomous conversational robots. Okay, this is the challenge for the total Turing test, and what we are doing for this robot is to implement intention desires. Okay, so this is the conceptual architecture of humans, but this is so complicated. So therefore, that we cannot directly handle these complicated architectures. Okay, and what we are doing is, let me go back. Sorry, and we are just, we are making this architecture simple. And our architectures consist of the desires, intention, and behaviors. Okay. Now, actually, we have implemented the two types of desire for the robot. One is a personal desire, the other is a social desires. Actually, the human has a two. We have two desire to protect our bodies and to protect our humankind. But of course, the robot does not need to. Robot is different from the human. Therefore, we are giving a kind of abstract desires. But still, I think robot need to have a personal and social desires. Personal desire is to for making the relationships with others, and the social desire is to understand the social situation, social the positions in the societies. Okay. And in addition to that, we have developed several technologies for make the robot human-like. And in this case, by analyzing the voice, we are generating the lip movement, head movement, and the gesture, everything. Okay? And this is a very important technology for making the robot, the human-like. And this is the error recovery technology. Sometimes, we have overlapping in conversations, and sometimes, robot may have a misunderstanding. In such case, the robot needs to have a function for the error recovery. And this is the attentive listening functions. Even if a robot doesn't understand clearly the human's utterance, it's better to keep listening. Okay. So by combining these technologies, we have developed this, the very human-like Android. Can I have a more voice? Yes, this is synthesized voice, and everything is synthesized. And this is the scene of the first contact. And actually, the people could talk with this Android around the 10 minutes or the 20 minutes. Okay? So we have prepared the more than the 80 stories. For the first contact, right? So, and the Android can talk about the weathers and the traffic conditions, so many things. And this, the computer program is so complicated. We have spent more than 2 years, for developing this complicated conversational robots. And and we are also the robot is simulating the own mood or the likeness about the interlocutors, and the robot also the guessing, the interlocutor's mood and interlocutor's likeness, and then the robot is evaluating the relationships between robot and the interlocutors. And this is another example of a conversation. In this case, interlocutor is naturally talking, right? I just asked, please, think about this robot is the normal humans, and please talk naturally with natural speed and natural, the way of speaking. But still, as you can see here, that she could have the conversation with this robot. Of course, we are limiting the situations and the purpose. And this is the situation of a first contact, right? But I think we could have the good result. Okay. Okay, and almost all people could talk with this robot more than 10 minutes. And someone then said, okay, I thought that this robot is operated by human operators. Actually, the computer is controlling everything. But the several people said, this one was like a teleoperated robot. Okay, so that means this one there is a possibility that this robot could pass a total Turing test. Okay, then still I think I have another 15 minutes. I want to discuss. This is well, another very important part of my talk. So I want to discuss about the future of humanities. So what happened after several 10,000 years? All right. So so I want to think about the very long futures. Okay. All right. So my conclusion is human is going to be a kind of inorganic intelligent life. All right. So and we may have the huge variety of our bodies, and we may have the kind of the new evolutions. Okay, let me try to convince you that. Okay, two ways of human evolutions. Okay, one is the genes. Of course, we have two ways of two ways of human evolution. One is the gene. Of course, we have how can I say that we are animal, right? But another way is the technologies. Actually, the technological evolutions greatly outpaces the genetic evolutions. Okay, so if we want to go, we can go to the moons by using technologies, but we cannot go to the moons by improving the genes. It's almost impossible, right? So we can talk with the people living in foreign countries by using the mobile phones, but it's impossible to do it by improving the genes. Okay, 5 million years before present, human beings appeared, and the 10,000 years before present, agriculture started, and then after that, we are improving the human abilities by developing the technologies. Okay, so this is the history of technology development. So we don't know what human is. That is the most important question for us. We want to know what human is. That is the goal of science. But at least what we can say is human is the animal plus technologies. Okay, so we are using a lot of technologies. We are living in the buildings. We are sitting on the chairs, putting glasses, using a smartphone, and driving a car. Almost all human activities are supported by technologies. Right. The problem, and of course, we can replace our the bodies with prosthetic arm and legs and artificial organs. Okay. Of course, it's quite difficult to replace the brain with the computers. Okay. But almost all our activities supported by technologies. Okay. Without the technologies, we cannot define the humans. If we don't use the technologies, we are going. We're going to be monkeys. Right? We are not monkeys because we are using the technologies. So technological development. So this technological development never stops. The humans try to enhance their abilities based on the mission stored in their genes. And to survive, you must enhance your abilities. Okay? The technologies that enhances human ability is highly attractive for humans. The whose mission is to survive in this world. Our goal is to obtain it and enrich our lives. This is the economic development. And therefore, the technology rarely reverses direction in human histories. So, to what extent do we use machines in our daily lives? As I said, roughly speaking, this is my hypothesis, the 90% machines, maybe 10% flesh and bones. Well, in some sense. Okay? So the evolution by technology beyond the limitation of life, how we can achieve this? Of course, it is to replace the brain with computers. I'm talking about the after several thousand, 100,000 or 10,000 years, not the next decade. Okay, I'm talking about the very long futures. Right? Please do not misunderstand. Right? So anyway, the human evolution. If we can replace the animal part means the brains, right? So if we can replace the animal part with the computers, then that we're gonna be technologies. We're gonna be just inorganic materials. So ultimate aim of human evolution, so that is immortality by replacing the flesh and bones with inorganic materials. So organic bodies are not preconditions for human existence in today's world already. You understand? Even if we use the prosthetic arm and legs, we can be 100% humans. Okay? You know, so flesh body is not, the requirement of a human definitions. So then the question is, the human comes from and returns to the inorganic material. This is my hypothesis. Okay, so the question is, what is humans? I believe a human comes from and return to the inorganic materials. So think about the history of the planet Earth, right? 4.5 billion years before present, it was the birth of a planet Earth. So at the moment, we just have inorganic the stuff, right? And then eventually we got the organic the stuff, the 3.5 billion years before present. So at the moment, the living creature arrives. And as a final evolutionary form, we are existing in today's. Okay, but as I said, we are almost inorganic materials in some sense, right? Our activities, more than 90% activities supported by machines. We are almost machines. So we are trying to going back to the inorganic material. So think about the reasons that organic material exists. The human's organic body is a method for accelerating the evolutions, to make it intelligent. So organic that has a complicated molecular structure is highly adaptable to the environment. On the other hand, the complicated structure is very fragile. So we cannot, organic materials including the proteins, we cannot survive in the space. Okay. So the question is, what happens if something happens in the planet or something happens on the sun? So if we cannot live in this the planet, we need to live in a space, right? In such case, which is better, organic materials or inorganic materials, right? So anyway, so I think my hypothesis is we are going to be an inorganic intelligent life after more than 1,000, maybe 10,000, 100,000 years, right? So in order to survive, in this world, in this space, so this is necessary. This is the reason why we are, quite interested in technologies. Why we are crazy for developing the technology, developing the robots, because to survive in this world. But if I talk, this kind of things, or you guys, you're gonna be kind of nervous. So reason is, your imagination is like this. You are thinking, going to be this kind of robot. But you are getting a very bad influence from the Hollywood movies and the other types of robot movies. Okay, so important things is, if you accept the mechanical bodies, you can choose any kind of form, right? You can have, the very the human-like form. You can have, the vehicle types of form, and any kind of, the body you can choose. This is a diversity. Okay, so diversity support evolutions. So you guys remember the Cambrian explosions, right? That was the most important moment for the human creatures, of course, in animals, right? We may have another Cambrian explosions by replacing with our bodies. So anyway, so diversities, how we can, they have a happy futures, right? We don't know what is happiness. Happiness is a kind of a relative, the values, okay? So, but if we have a diversity in our futures, we have more chances to be happy. Okay? So people can have different values. The people can have unique lives. Therefore, diversity is very important. So then, I think still I think I have a couple of minutes, but anyway, so this is the end of my talk. So anyway, the human-robot symbiotic societies in near futures, maybe the next decade or next, after 20 or 30 years, we may have a human symbiotic societies. The important meaning of this, human-robot symbiotic society is, we're going to have a chance to deeply think about what human is. Okay? If we use more robot in our daily life, we're going to have more chances to think about ourselves, because the robot and human-like robot is a kind of a mirror of humanities. Okay, so that is the real meaning of human-robot symbiotic societies. So today I talked about a kind of big hypothesis about the human futures, and I really think that is the possible stories. But before that, we're going to have human-robot symbiotic societies, and we're going to deeply think about the meaning of robots and the meaning of humans. So that is our future, I believe. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.